Good morning. It's my pleasure to introduce the next speaker for today, our keynote, Doc Searls. We're really glad to have him back again this year for our show. He has been here last year as well. Doc is senior editor of the Linux Journal and known for co-authoring the book The Clue Train Manifest. And of course, he's very well known for being a blogger. So here we go. He's going to present about open source in the Turing market.
Thanks. This is a topic that I just kind of pulled out of an orifice before when Ken asked me to come up with a topic for this. And I didn't realize until I got here how appropriate it was. The subtitle is Open Source in the Turing Market. And as an example of that, I'd like to go through a few moments of a case history in hospitality. I'm going to, if you all don't mind, I don't know if you do or not, I'm going to roast the hotel a little bit here. So, this is, and I think when you're talking to easily the people who know more about websites and the web than anybody else in any room gathered in the world, it's pretty safe to criticize somebody's website. Right? So, especially if it's where you're staying. So, this is kind of fair game. I figure since these guys are saying these things on the website, it kind of sets it up so I can say some fun things about that. So, it's what they're saying right now is Oasis Resort Villas is a premier all-suite non-gaming resort in Las Vegas. From the moment you arrive at your Oasis in Las Vegas, you'll notice something special about the Las Vegas. Maybe you haven't noticed anything special, but probably you have. And these are all actual text taken from their website. Stroll among lush landscaping. That's a picture from the website. Here's a picture I took yesterday. The lush landscaping is there. It's winding pathways lead you through two-story stucco buildings, and they don't all wind. Some of them are remarkably weird. And you can savor the sophistication of our elegant and serene suites. That's the picture that they supply, and all of our accommodations are newly renovated and tastefully decorated in soft classic earth tone colors, as well as elegantly appointed in detail in the finest wood and art pieces. I put on my old AM radio late night W voice there to read that. This is a picture of our room. It's a little more modest. I especially like the comfort part here. All our guests, all our suites provide our guests comfort. This is the comfort. This is the comfort delivery device that's in our room. And it's signs of the fact that parts have actually fallen off. Kind of lucky the whole thing, as Kevin said. What attracted my attention is this little item here, which when you look at it up close says, do not adjust thermostat below 70 degrees to avoid freezing. I was always worried about my air conditioner that it might freeze down, right? But apparently in here they can do that. The European style wet bar, like that's the picture. And here's ours, with I like the Venetian blinds there, probably imported from Venice. My argument is attracted to this. I don't know if any of you attempted to make coffee, but I don't think there's a cheaper way to make coffee on the planet Earth. They have this thing where you actually there's no glass involved. You actually, it goes into a styrofoam cup. It's kind of high-speed internet access and web TV. Have you had experience with high-speed internet access here? This is ours. The cool thing about this one is that the little Ethernet cable that has the female end with the brand on it or something, actually in ours goes to the next room. That's the thing. And actually, under the rug was in the next room. That's kind of cool. And so you have to plug into the back of the hub right there. If you figure that out. There's a hole that goes to the next room. Our main pool, the focal point of our Las Vegas resort, offers guests the opportunity to enjoy a sparkling whirlpool and glistening water. There it is. It's glistening right there next to the wheelbarrow or whatever that is. The pool area is perfect for outdoor cocktail parties. It's a picture of what they're going to do with it when they're not, let's be fair. And here's where we are right now. We can go out there, I suppose, if we want to drink a cocktail, but it's inviting. For family receptions and perhaps enjoy a libation or two, you can, and one of our own people was enjoying a cellular telephony right there. If that's libations. And I like this main pool is open seasonally from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. There's an undercurrent, like the caution flag. It's like, so you broke through the police barrier right there. At night, the pool is vibrantly lit, offering a festive ambiance. Here's what I got. Absolutely. You know, take pleasure in the waterfalls, trees, flowers, and grass. There actually were waterfalls in a late period of history in those in the plaster and rock things that they have. And this is what this one looks like now. It's the plaster's kind of been broken down because they're turning down. There were trees here, I suppose. But anyway, and reminiscent of the Mediterranean hideaway, this is a shot there. It's ideal for networking as your corporate guests mingle, and here were ours. So with that, of course, the Oasis Park is under construction, right? And it's kind of under construction, kind of like, of course, Apachecon is. The site is under construction, and this is more than coincidental. I think in some very important ways, there's actually not much difference between these guys that are busy building out something and these guys that are doing the same thing only indoors and on computers that I shot. Apparently they don't sound like that, you guys. Someone would think of. In fact, you might want to call the Alexis Park or Fine Hotel Apache Hotel. This is in fact a good thing. This is a good thing. Because there's nothing more critical to building than rebuilding. You need to be able to rebuild whatever the heck it is you've already built, right? Anybody who's ever built a house knows this. There's it's interesting to me that the source of our vocabulary is more than coincidental, and there's a challenge here. Try to talk about software without using the language of construction and real estate. It's almost impossible. You know, so for example, you know, we say that we architect and design and build or model these things we call platforms, among other things, or structures, or stacks. Stacks is like a hot one right now. You hear a lot more about stacks. Or builds, if we're going through generations of development, we call each the latest one a build. You know, and we use tools, and once we get on the web, all of a sudden we're in real estate territory. We have sites with locations and addresses that are under construction, we say, right? So the interesting thing here is this is elementary cognitive linguistics. There's none of us taken in school, so I'll teach it to you in 3 seconds or 10 seconds. We understand everything in terms of something else. I think I talked about this last year, and forgive me if I'm repeating myself, but it's been a year, so you probably forgot. Everything we know in terms of something else. It's one of the interesting ironies. This does not equal that, and therefore we talk about something in terms of that. For example, we talk about time in terms of money. We save it, we waste it, we spend it, we throw it away, we lose it, we invest it, we set it aside, right? Time has nothing to do with money, right? But we can understand time in terms of money. It's totally unconscious. And we do a similar thing with life, for example. I mean, what can be more familiar than life, right? But we say that birth is arrival and death is departure, and choices are crossroads, and careers are paths. We get stuck in a rut, we fall off the wagon. You know, we're in a cul-de-sac, right? You can't talk about life without using the language of travel. In a similar way, we can't talk about software without using the language of real estate construction. And I think that's indicative of something that's in fact rather good. So we can't avoid it, and it's a good thing. Because we can learn a few things, I think, from the construction industry. And that's my point here. It's the oldest and largest industry in civilization. You count one other, but I'm not sure it makes that much. Maybe drugs is pretty big too, I suppose. But it's $5+ trillion worldwide. That's how big the construction industry is. And as Eric Raymond taught us in Homesteading in Nova Square and the Cathedral and the Bazaar, use value subordinates sale value in construction as well as in software. Sharing know-how is natural. Commodities, for example, are good things. Margins under 80% are just fine. There's room for everybody, and especially independent developers and contractors. And DIY, do-it-yourself, is fundamental to it. These are conditions we have not had, for the most part, in the software industry. The software industry is like, 20 years old or something like that. It's an infant industry as industries go. And we've got this weird notion that, commodities are bad things. you know, if you're hanging out with VCs or, you know, you read the magazines and newspapers, like, oh, this is a terrible thing, you know, some software is getting commoditized. And if it's commoditized, it's terrible, right? Well, try to imagine a world without commodities. Try to live without food, right? You know, or try to build something without commodities. Commodities are what make the world run. And most companies find that in the commodity business, find ways to make money with commodities. Don Marty, the editor of the Latest Journal, says, information doesn't want to be free, information wants to be $6.95, which I think is true. I mean, you can actually, or as Jamie Zawinski puts it, Linux is free if your time has no value, right? So, it's unfair, but it's true, right? I mean, if I could have gotten this presentation to work on Open Office, I've been using a ThinkPad right now, okay? So, it's still, you know, we have a little ways to go here. So in any case, and margins under 8% are just fine. Most in the construction industry, or rather in the materials industries, like lumber and other building materials, like the margins tend to run in the 20 to 30% range. That's not bad. That's really pretty good. And finally, do it yourself is fundamental. You got a lot of independent people, and you have individuals able to make whatever they want. If you want to go down to Home Depot and build your own house, you're able to do that. You want to hire contractors to do it, you can do that too. That's the natural state of things in a mature industry. And we're getting to be a mature industry here. So the best book ever written on architecture and construction is this one. And this has anybody ever read How Buildings Learn by Stuart Brand? You know who Stuart Brand is? This is Stuart Brand right here. Somebody knows Stuart Brand. Stuart Brand is a real polymath. He started the Whole Earth catalog many years ago, and a chain of stores with the same name. He's the first guy who's mentioned way back in the electric Kool-Aid acid test by Ken Kesey. He's been involved in all kinds of things. He's a really brilliant guy and a really good guy. And he wrote this book called How Buildings Learn. He wasn't a builder or anything like one. He just was curious about some things. And I've talked to him a lot about this. There's a lot in this book that applies very well to the software industry. So if we look at architecture, we talk about architecture and software, talk about it in construction. He says there's two kinds. There's magazine architecture, there's vernacular architecture, and there's two kinds of construction, high road and low road. And magazine architecture, he points out, is beautiful, right? It has to be, you know, and it's this lovely stuff. And if you open any architecture magazines, this is the kind of stuff that they show, right? It's really terrific, and nobody ever lives in these places, right? Nobody actually can. It's idealized, but nobody actually can. So his point is that magazine architecture for show is not only idealized, but form outweighs function. You know, how it looks matters more than anything. Frank Lloyd Wright used to say the job of the architect is to bankrupt the builder. And proof that you had a roof was the fact that it was leaking, because he then designed roofs that would leak because they looked perfect, right? Okay, art outweighs craft. One of the points that Stuart makes is that if something is essentially functional, then it's craft. And if it's essentially beautiful, then it's art. And that's sort of the difference between this thing and a ThinkPad, I think. About the artist, it's mostly about the artist. It's the architect who made this house. It's not your house, it's the architect's house. And it's about the artist, not the purpose necessarily of the house. And it's hard to change. And does that, you know, that sound a little bit like some of the stuff that we're dealing with here, right? Vernacular architecture, on the other hand, he says, is practical, right? Vernacular architecture is what you tend to find in a particular environment that's appropriate to that environment and built by the locals. So, you know, if it's a place where you get flooding, it's built on stilts, and if you're on the ocean in North Carolina, it's not only on stilts, it's built back if you can behind the dunes, and there are igloos here, and, you know, grass huts there, and, you know, fieldstone houses and row houses, and, you know, houses with flat roofs on the desert because it hardly ever rains. You know, if you have a steep pitch roof where it snows a lot, so in New England, and if you can build out of available materials, maybe it's Adobe up here in Arizona or New Mexico. So, his point there is vernacular architecture is inherently adaptive. It respects local conditions, it uses and reuses local materials, leverages the skills of workers, appreciates real rules, and these are two rules he came up with, which I really love. One is all buildings, who is it? My own phone rang here before. Anyway, all buildings are predictions, and all predictions are wrong, right? So as soon as you build something, it's going to be wrong. The rules sort of like that. Form follows funding, right? That's my favorite. You're going to build what you can afford. There's another one that he came up with that isn't in the book, but I rather like, which is there's no urge more powerful, including the urge for sex and food, than the need to alter a permanent structure. Is it true? I mean, what do you do when you move into a house? I got to move this wall, right? I have to. We need a door over here. We need to put a porch back there, right? Trust me, we've done this so many times. Yes, we do. My wife will be build and rebuild houses, so it's familiar to me. It maximizes reusability. It has well understood costs. Corners are easier to cut or to create. You can say, this is going to be solid, or we're going to spend money over here, and that's going to be something we're not going to change. And over here, well, we can cheap out on this thing over in this place. Now that's high road construction. That was just architecture. There's magazine architecture, and there's vernacular architecture. Kind of imagine a grid here, one of those Boston Consulting Group grids. On the other axis, we have high road construction. High road construction has high purposes. And here we have cathedrals, we have university buildings, public buildings of various kinds. And high road buildings have and they keep a character. It's not just that they were architected by so-and-so, they actually have a kind of living nature to them. And they do it through what he says is high intent in the first place, a duration of purpose, duration of care, time, lots of it you have to put into it, and a steady supply of confident dictators. A classic example he gives of a high road building is some dining hall at Oxford where, like 20 or 30 years ago, they discovered that the beams in the ceiling were starting to rot, and they went and looked closely at the beams and found that they were from some rare kind of oak that was from this one part of England, and they went and looked and found where the oaks were. There was this whole forest, and these old guys taking care of the forest, and they said, we really need your oaks. And the old guy said, glad, it's really great you guys finally showed up, but we waited, right? Because the idea they built that thing knowing they would need this forest of wood that he planted at the time that they built it, would be mature at the point where they needed to replace it. Nothing happens like that in computing, but it's good to point out that there is a high road approach. If we ever get stable, maybe we'll need one. Low road is cheap. Low road construction is cheap. Quonset, Costco's, retail establishments that come and go. I'm old enough now to remember that when the first mall was built in New Jersey, like most people in California, and it's gone. The malls came and they wrecked downtown, and then they tore the malls down, and they built up the downtowns, and now they're building these malls out. There were these big box stores. It used to be they put the stores in the middle of the parking on the outside, and the parking in the middle of the store. So, but it's all low road stuff. It's meant to be destroyed, like this place, essentially. Right? So it's not a knock on it, it just is, right? So for low road aesthetics, it's secondary at best. Looks not only matter little, but ugly may be a virtue, right? An interesting point about that, I once gave a talk at a retail convention, and I talked about the soul of companies. And Clue Traders and I were talking about how companies have something about them that's to make it, that a company's not going to do what the future dead guy on the wall of the lobby wouldn't do, right? I think this is important for, companies that have a lot of legacy, like IBM and HP and Apple and Sun. I mean, those are relatively young companies as companies go, but they're even IBM is only like 60 years old. But in any case, there's stuff that the originators did that were in the soul of the company. And this guy in the morning, I ran into him in the dining room at the nice hotel in Lucerne. And he's clearly an American, and he's a nice guy. And he said he had a great talk yesterday, enjoyed it, and we chewed the fat for a little bit. And then later that morning, he gave a keynote, and it turned out this guy was Lee Scott, who runs Walmart. Little did I know. And afterwards he says, no, as a matter of fact, it's true. Our company has a soul. It's still run by Sam Walton, and Sam Walton had no taste. He said, and it was a simple thing. He said it was interesting to him that Kmart would spend so much money on coupons that like 11% of their expenses had to do with publishing paper for the coupon addicts to bring in, and get discounts on stuff. Where all Sam Walton said was everyday low prices, and he says what we do is we cheap out, and we're the people who also cheap out, and that's kind of what we're about, more or less. I'm sure there's more to the company than that, but he said that's part of what the soul of the company was about. So in any case, in his case, looks didn't matter a whole lot, and ugly may be a virtue. Instead, low road is about low rent, low style, high turnover, abuse tolerance. It has to be able to take abuse, and disposability in the long run. If you have to wreck it, nobody's going to say, the Alexis Park is a historic site. We really can't wreck this place, right? That's not going to happen. Actually, nothing in Las Vegas, I think, is probably a historic site. That just occurred to me. It's probably true. And he gives us a prime low road vernacular example. MIT's Building 20. Anybody here went to MIT? Just a few guys, yeah. So you probably remember Building 20. You're around long enough for that. So you can correct me like what Dippy did when I gave us a similar talk. So, an interesting thing he says about Building 20 is that this is a perfect vernacular building. They couldn't get rid of it because it was too damn useful. It tolerated abuse, it didn't cost anything, all the infrastructure was exposed on the inside. You can change the piping, you could change the air conditioning, you could replace the wood on the floors and the rest of it. And so what happened there? He said it was the birthplace of things like radar, radiology, acoustics, plastics, linguistics and cognitive science, which I was quoting from earlier, or sourcing earlier, electromagnetics, flight control, meteorology, missile guidance, adhesives, and of course the famous Model Railroad Club, where the term hackers was born, and without which probably none of us would be doing what we're doing now. So vernacular is good. That's more or less the point that he makes. Now, free software and open source are vernacular and low road by nature, and he points out that means they're native, they're casual and astute. I like this term. They're respectful of reality. They're open to evolution. They're more about craft than art. They're resourceful, smart, self-educated, and self-educating because you're never quite done, right? And cheap or free, right? This is the nature of vernacular construction. So an interesting thing now we've got vernacular and we've got high road and low road and idealized architecture, which is what, and I work in the publishing industry and I write for a magazine. Even though I write for low roaders in a vernacular magazine, there's still this imperative that says you're going to look at everything through the prism of vendors. When you look at a market, you're going to get it from the vendor's point of view. That's sort of the way the whole thing is set up. But the interesting thing is that, and vendors, by the way, want to tell you magazine stuff. They want to say, we make perfect stuff, and it's good for the entire future, and we'll solve all of your problems for you in this perfect place that you can do anything in as long as it's the way you want to do it. Right? That's just the way the way vendors are. But for builders, not just for architects, but for builders, there's this other characteristic that is native to construction as we understand it. This really mature $5 trillion industry is a virtue that's higher than openness, and that virtue is modularity. And I'll explain what I mean by that. So, case in point number one, door and latch. So here's a door from our hotel, and here's a latch in the door of the hotel. So, and an interesting thing is that the door is a standard, right? Doors come in more or less standard sizes. I doubt they had these doors custom manufactured, right? But they probably came, like most doors do, with holes in them where you can put the latches in if you want to, right? And in most hotels, there are latches like these. And the interesting thing is you can install any kind of latch you want, including a closed one. Now, a latch like this is probably full of intellectual property of all kinds. It's got electronics in it, it's probably got all kinds of patents, who knows? But that's, a little space where there's probably a lot of competition between companies. But it's kind of isolated. That's an interesting thing. Case in point number two, bathroom window. This is, in fact, a bathroom window in our room, and I wanted to open it. And it turned out I couldn't because of a little thing going on up here, which was not a bug. In fact, it was. If you look closely, there's a screw in there, and it was a feature. They prevented me from opening. They wanted that for some reason. So you're screwed, right? But, that's the deal. You're the customer. So still, it's nicely done in the vernacular low road tradition, right? This is yeah, it's a low road thing. You know what? We don't have a great hotel. We can put screws in our windows that are ugly and keep the customer from doing what we don't want them to do, whatever it is. And it's an easy thing to do. We've got a place that allows them to do that. It's a lot like Linux that way, right? It's an Apache kind of hotel, or Apache. So, case in point two, the faux rock garden. I like the faux rock garden. I'm old enough to remember when this place was relatively new, and this was actually like the hotel to come to if you didn't want to be where there was a smoking casino that made a lot of noise. And that was a cool thing. And these rocks were still operative as water features in those days. Maybe they were operative even a year or two ago, but obviously they're renovating now. But I think it's kind of cool. You just drive over them and the rocks come apart. Because you can actually build your own geodes. That's the neat thing. Is here. And you do it with plaster on dirt. That's a very. I was trying to figure out how they did it. You know, I guess they bagged up dirt and they put plaster on it and painted it black. Kind of neat, right? Build your own geodes. So here's another key point. Modularity isolates intellectual property. So a point there is the Davis Wire Corporation may hold a pile of patents. This is from some construction going on outside. I took a picture of, what you wrap whatever you're going to be putting stucco on with this stuff. But it doesn't tell you what kind of stucco you're going to spread on it. Davis Wire Corporation probably does not suffer from the illusion that they have a platform, right? They don't have a platform, right? Platformosis is a disease, okay? I don't have a platform, and I can control it. It has boundaries, and I have a captive audience or a captive market here, right? As if, I'm sorry, but we actually have free-range customers now. They're wandering everywhere. They don't want to be held inside your corral. The way vendors think, and they can't help it. It's we're going to build a better prison than the next guy, and we're going to furnish it better than the next guy. We'll compete on accommodations in our prison versus the other prisons. This is why the iPod is winning right now. The iPod is about the closest thing you can get, right? It really is. I mean, try and write something that's another iTunes that talks to the iPod. See how long that lasts, right? And if you can only download to it, it really doesn't work. But it's really good at being this prison for you for now. And 3 or 4 years it'll be something else. But that's the way it works, right? If you're on the vendor side, it's not a knock on Apple. They're doing a very good job with that. But that's the way it is. But we don't have that problem in the construction industry. If you look at the construction industry as the terminal state for the computer industry, there's hope in the Davis Wire Corporation and the lack of platformosis that company probably has. So nobody builds a house on the Georgia Pacific platform, right? So as an example, they just build it and rebuild it. That's what you do with a house, and with whatever works best. Now this is me in the latest house that we rebuilt. And we had to just what I have to say. We had to just bring a minute to say it. This is in Santa Barbara, and this is sort of the midpoint of rebuilding the house, and this is the endpoint, which is now. I'm showing this to partners. We're going to be selling this a little bit, so we move to the next one and we fix that one. But the interesting thing now, if we go, the point there is that nobody's in the construction business except in a contained area, in a modular area. I mean, I imagine there are some areas where somebody maybe in the latch business or in the accordion wall business or the ceiling tile business or the lighting business where they have a little bit of an edge where they've got a little cluster of other companies that kind of live in their platformy-like place, but is nothing like what Microsoft has with the desktop operating system, what Apple has right now with the iPod, what IBM had when the whole world lived like fleas in its fur. IBM, when I was young, was referred to as the environment. We lived on it. It was like the planet Jupiter. We were like inside the atmosphere there. It was a weird thing. So we don't have that here. So look at the software industry again. The software world right now is filling up with commodity building material. That's what every open source project is doing. It's a bunch of commodity building materials, plus lots of handy and free tools. So it's getting easier for anybody to build whatever they want. This is why DIY is starting to happen in a big way. So on infrastructure built with open modular tools and building materials. So I think right now, this is something I've noticed in writing for the Linux Journal. The last 2 years, about a year and a half, I've been following up on an assignment that Don Marty, my editor-in-chief, gave me, which is to talk to companies that were smart companies using Linux to make themselves smarter as kind of a general area. And what I've found is that there are lots of companies out there where if you look at the magazines and you see what the vendors are saying, and then if you go into the companies and you see what they're saying, the vendors are saying we're leading the customers, and the customers are saying we're either getting along without the vendors or we're leading the vendors, right? And that's a natural state of things. It's actually a good thing for vendors to have relatively independent customers. because that's what comfortable is. And it's a do-it-yourself movement. So what happens is that abundant natural building materials and tools give builders unprecedented independence. Most builders, by the way, will call themselves independent contractors, right? Nobody says, I'm an independent contractor because I only work for Georgia Pacific or Dow Corning or somebody else like that. Nobody says that, right? They're independent contractors. I'm an independent plumber, I'm an independent roofer, I'm an independent flooring specialist, or a guy who does tile or whatever else it might be. So, and I use Ken as a perfect example of that. So, an independent guy. So, summary, commoditized infrastructure and independent builders means that our industry is in fact finally growing up. And that's my fundamental point. Modularity helps us grow up. And that's it. You can do Q&A. Thank you very much. So any questions, disagreements, whatever else? Don't all shout at once. This guy over there stretching, but he's not. Fine. So is this it? This one, back to the room. Yes?
Quick question, just to go here for more. How does prefab housing fit into this?
I think it fits perfectly. I mean, if you want to make prefab, you can make prefab. I think there's room, I think there's room in this business for prefab. It's just, the point of modularity, the key of modularity, is your prefab works inside a context. And the limits of your claims are relatively small. You want to make prefab, prefab's cool. You can, yes, way back there. Where do I see unions? It's a good question. Unions arose and flourished in an era when giant corporations ruled the earth, and as a natural response to that. And I'm not sure we have that anymore in a lot of places. Now it could be that there may be trade associations and trade guilds and things like that. And obviously we have testing and certification and so forth and so on. And anybody who has a product, whether it's an open product or a closed product that requires a degree of expertise, is certainly free to, offer, you can be a certified fill-in-the-blank engineer or something like that. But it's interesting to me that the conditions that we had in the industrial age that gave rise to the giant corporations don't exist now, and many of them don't. And the advantages of having a giant corporation are no longer the same. Peter Drucker said this like 30 years ago. He said the modern corporation was coming to an end, and it was at that time it was only like 100 years old. And he said that the reason was because it used to be only a giant corporation, for example, had access to money, or only a giant corporation had the power to communicate worldwide or had political influence. And of all of the things that big corporations could offer, the biggest one that's still there is healthcare and retirement. Those are the big ones. And it's whatever sense you get of working for a company that has those big economies. But the days when those guys had so much power that the power was uncontrolled that required the rise of the unions, I think are gone. And so I think trade associations, things like that, makes sense. Over here. Right. Yeah, well, the interesting thing about metaphors is that they work because A does not equal B, right? If they were identical, then it wouldn't be a metaphor. Oh, yeah.
Repeat the question.
Oh, the question was, the point he was making is that if he makes the software equivalent of a latch and gives it away, now he still has it and the other guy has it, and you don't have that, the scarcity economics in the physical world that you do in the digital world. Is that about right? Yeah, so, and the point I was making is that, yeah, it is different, and there are going to be some differences, but the fact that we borrow so much of the way we can see what we do so much in terms of construction allows us to go down the road with construction and look at where we're heading with a degree of confidence, I think. And that's why I say I think the modularity movement is what follows the open source and the free software movement. And I'm not sure it's a movement. I think it's just a recognition of the condition. But I think we do need to make a little bit of a stake, at least, about the need for modularity in order to confine intellectual property claims, because we're going to be seeing an awful lot of those, especially by big vendors saying, you can't do this, you can't do that, like we see in the record industry. Yeah.
So,
There's an over there.
So most of your talk is about, if you use the construction analogy, it's about the material side, right? And the one question was about, unions and so forth, was about the people side. So since you're at Apachecon, and one of the distinguishing features of the ASF is the emphasis on community as well as the software architect. I was wondering if you had any more thoughts about the quote-unquote labor side in the construction analogy.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that there are a number of guys here who are from what I would call the labor side, the sysadmins and software engineers working inside companies making a difference. One of the things I noticed about builders in a region, like we're in Santa Barbara, right, and all the builders know each other. There is a kind of camaraderie about it, and the way that vernacular construction works, it's very open sourcey. If one crew figures out that, on this particular hillside, because it's kind of steep and there's some problems with soil slippage or something, this is our way of solving that problem. They pass that information on to the other guys, and there's community to some degree around that, and there's an expertise that builds around that. I don't think it maps exactly, but I think there's something fairly similar going on with that. Over there in the back, and then here.
Doc, I was wondering if your metaphor is also a challenge to attitudes among sort of this group with regards to open source software, specifically kind of the division between users and developers. You have a user on a mailing group who submits a question or a complaint about something with software. The standard response is submit a patch. Well, obviously, you can't do that in the construction business. You don't like the way your floor tiles work. You can't tell the user, go redesign a new kind of floor tile. And I'm wondering if as the open source stuff matures, as maybe HTTPD has already done, you're going to have this growing split between users and developers, where it becomes just a different way of relating, where you're thinking much more about the use and much less about digging into the source code.
Well, one of the things I noticed is that, and of course, in the sort of amateur side of the open source community, the sort of the shade tree hacker, right? It's because those guys exist that a committer or maintainer or somebody on the inside can say, well, just make your own patch, right? But it's credible. It's a credible statement. You can do that. I mean, when I first went to work for Lynch Journal, it was like an alien space to me. I said, well, just look at the man pages. And then the first time I used some tool, I forget what it was, the whole darn thing fell down. I said, well, obviously you didn't read a bug list. Like, I'm Joe User, okay? I'm used to Macs and PCs, I'm supposed to read the bug list, right? You guys are supposed to not have bugs. I didn't know, right? I was on the inside. It's interesting to me that there are more and more people, it seems to me, who are capable of saying to the guy laying the tile, okay, I may not like the tile, but I don't like the job you're doing, and I'm going to hire somebody else to do it, or I'm going to do it myself, right? Or I can learn to do it myself, and it doesn't look that hard, maybe I'll do it, maybe I will do it myself. And the world has an awful lot of people who can tell, the tile guy, or the roofing guy, or the plumbing guy to go to hell and do it themselves, right? There wouldn't be a Home Depot if that wasn't the case. So, and I actually see less division as time goes on. I think we're already, users are calling on experts they know to help solve problems. The thing is, they're going to be calling on fewer Windows experts and more, Linux and Unix experts and more Apache type experts, IIS experts. Yes.
I guess I'll bootstrap on the papers, but the thought I had
How do we build it? The cathedral.
Observe that my analogy, they were built by craftsmen.
Right.
And those craftsmen were the same ones who were building the stockade.
Yeah.
You seem to have too much of a division and not enough of a crossover reuse
Right.
building on top of it.
Well, an interesting thing is that a while ago I was talking about the cathedral and the bazaar with somebody. It wasn't Eric, it was somebody else. And they said that we have in fact built a cathedral, and it's the Nat. The Nat is our first cathedral, and we're still building, just like the great cathedrals. They never stopped building them. That we have a similar thing there, and in a similar way, cathedrals, okay, they belong to the church in a way, but they really belong to the town. They belong to the people. They were a public gathering place. I think the Net, and this is a little bit off subject, but it's not entirely. I think it's very germane. Being a kind of amateur linguist, I pay close attention to the language that people use. There is an utter and total disconnect between people in, say, on one side in the record industry, in Hollywood, in publishing, which I'm in. A lot of people in the web world see things in publishing terms, which means that they bring in the entire vocabulary of shipping and of plumbing. You have content that you load into a channel for distribution to an end user or an eyeball, through a pipe, right? That's the plumbing metaphor. That's the shipping metaphor. We see business in those terms too. In the meantime, what we're doing here is we have our locations and sites, and we're using real estate language. And we have Larry Lessig coming along saying, this is a commons, and we totally agree with that, and we feel very much at one with that. And there's this complete disconnect between those who conceive the net as a plumbing system for the delivery of content, and those who see the net as a place that is fundamentally open and free and belongs to nobody. It belongs to everybody and nobody at the same time. And the first one you can regulate real well, right? The FCC the other day issued a statement. It's kind of quiet. Some blogger found a note about it that they issued, in which they basically said, the internet is a big plumbing system. It's broadcasting, it's communications, and therefore we're in charge of it. And we're going to tell you what you do on there. And what that says is they can come along and say, just like we can find Howard Stern, we can find you guys for indecency. We can go after all the people that are not in line with family values, whatever it is that they feel they can get political support on. In the meantime, there are people like us on the other side saying, wait a minute, that's absurd. That goes way far afield of your point, but I think there is a case to be made that we've already made one cathedral and we're still building now. So, I don't know if that.
And the role of modularity in doing it.
And exactly, and the role of modularity. Yeah, you can't, that's an interesting point. I mean, the craftsmen who built the cathedrals were the ones who did it, right? I mean, they were the ones who figured the thing out. I mean, I guess Bruno Leschi designed the Duomo in Florence, right? But even there, the legend has it he designed it based, the dome based on an egg. His demonstration, his model was an egg. It showed the structure of an egg was essentially very strong. And that itself was a terribly simple demonstration of something that was in line with a larger principle that they could understand. So, anyway, others? Way over there, yes.
Before you talk about how this is narrowly developed large individuals, but I hear more and more to be about large like Apachecon that's kind of taking over, creating this huge media conglomerates. And so I read kind of against that, the internet is the next frontier, and that may fall. Looks like
I think there are two almost completely separate phenomena. One is the consolidation of media, especially less Ted Turner than say Rupert Murdoch, Viacom and people like that are have more and more stations. Clear Channel and radio is a classic example of a giant company that's sort of taking over everything, homogenizing the media. And And at the same time, you have what's happening that's familiar to us on the net. And I think those are different things. Where we have a problem is where the regulatory regime that's familiar to the former gets imposed on the latter by the people that they lobby in Congress. And I don't really have any forecast on that, except it's going to be a big problem. I do think that we're, I mean, however you like, anybody might like or dislike the recent election results in the U.S., there's no doubt that the mobilization of voters outside the major media was huge on both sides. You know, and it was done in different ways, but it had a huge effect. I mean, on the Republican side, there was very artful use of email, especially. There's and we're all familiar, I suppose, with what happened in the Democratic primary, how it it started with Dean. I think a lot of, if Kerry had trusted the process that Dean's campaign essentially discovered, he might have been successful. I think he basically kind of went in the cautious, full media way toward the end of the thing, and it didn't work. But I have, I mean, having been and worked in both media, not necessarily major media, but I've been on major media. I mean, I was, a few months ago, I had like for 20 seconds on CBS Sunday morning, right? And it was part of a story about the role of blogs in politics. And it was during the O'Reilly Emerging Tech Conference that had a thing called Digital Democracy teach-in the day before. And the CBS Sunday morning crew came down, and I talked to David Poe for about 45 minutes. And it's a, you know, for what usually happens when you get interviewed for something like that is you end up with like 8 seconds. I had 22 seconds, right? 2 people who knew me noticed it, right? Now I didn't, it had no effect whatsoever. I mean, and interestingly, it was like, in the old days it was like, wow, I got on CBS. You know, I reached zillions of eyeballs and so forth. It meant almost nothing. It rounded to 0. And yet, one of the reasons that they kept me on there was that I wrote a story in Linux Journal called Saving the Net in the summer of 2003, that the Dean campaign blogger guys picked up on and used it as just, it had nothing to do with what I wrote, but they used it as an excuse to raise money, to small contributions, like, let's raise over $600,000, because Dick Cheney's going to raise like $200,000 with $2,000 a plate dinners, and we're going to do it with, you know, $50 contributions. They raised over $1 million, leveraging something I wrote, you know, in the relational website, wasn't even in the magazine. You know, and any post I put in my blog, I have a feeling will have far more effect than anything I could say on television, anywhere. So what's that say? I mean, that's an interesting thing. I think it's a cool thing. So I'm optimistic about that stuff. Over there, somebody, raise your hand. Way over here, yes.
I'm just wondering, we have all sorts of, going back to your metaphor, all sorts of building inspectors, probably in Santa Barbara, around, their equivalent software.
I don't know, is it? Well, I sure hope not. This is comedian Tim somebody or other. It's a very funny routine talking about how the most dreaded guy on earth is the COVID inspector. He's some guy who got hit by a truck 20 years ago, and he's been taken out of everybody ever since. And he's talking about how if they were there at the pyramids, he'd say, you know, you've got an 18-inch foot on this pyramid, and that's not going to cut it. Right? You're going to have to make that a 48-inch foot. Tear all those rocks down. Put in a 48-inch footing, and you know, and the next inspection is in 400 years, and you're not going to let it go either, right? And last summer, I was invited to give a talk to educate them on open source. There's this thing called ISACA. It's an international association. whatever it is, it's the Something Audit and Control Association. So in big systems, auditing is a big deal. And since a law came along called Sarbanes-Oxley, which some of you may have been forced to learn about, right? It's the law of unintended consequences cubed, some high exponent, right? The first time I saw somebody, like this team of people from Deloitte Touche came in and gave a big talk about how big companies needed them to figure out Sarbanes-Oxley so they could be accountable. I mean, insane, right? And so, but for the guys whose job it is to do what you're talking about, do audit and controls and make sure that management systems are imposed and in place on everything in the big organization, we're just given a lease on life. This is a great new thing for them, right? Sarbanes-Oxley, go for it. But I was the first person to speak to them about open source. They said, well, you seem to make sense about open source, so we're going to have you teach a course in open source. Which I did. And I got the ratings on it the other day. It's like, the only knock on me was I didn't tell enough about how you could audit open source. I have no idea. Right? It's a new thing. Yeah, but that's, in large organizations, that's inevitable. I think in small ones, it's like, it's either going to work or not. That's going to be your test. Anybody else? So we arrived at that time. I see somebody's already brought lunch in, so I'm on stage right hungry. Okay, thank you very much.